What's good, YouTube? Sensational Series here, and I'm back with another Time Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video. We're here for October 30th, 2020's Vendor Reset. So let's get right into this to see what we got good for this week. Okay, so for our first gear items, we're going to head over to Camp Hudson. Here the weapons vendor has a large suppressor FDE with 18% crit hit damage, 3% crit hit chance, and 5% optimal range. For our next gear items, we're still at Camp Hudson. Here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops mask with the talent Tenacious on there. It has a gear score of 270, the armor is 885, its roll for stamina 1245, and attributes it has is crit hit chance and blind death resistance. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 4.50% support station healing speed. For our next gear items, you're going to head over to the base of operations. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a tactical UMP45 with a gear score of 283. It has 22% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is skilled, adept, and ambusher. Also here we got a Spec Ops mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 272. The armor is 890. Its roll for electronics 1217. And attributes this has is crit hit chance and blind death resistance. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 4% mobile cover damage resilience. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the weapons vendor here, and we got a rugged mini reflex sight with 7.50% crit hit chance, 6% headshot damage, and 4% crit hit damage. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the gear vendor here. We got a prototype performance mod with 3.50% ballistic shield damage. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the advanced weaponry vendor, and here we got a tactical AUG A3P with a gear score of 280. It has 22.50% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is unforgiving, competent, and destructive. Also here we got a G36 enhanced with a gear score of 271. It has 22% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is brutal, sustained, and focused. Also here we got a double barrel shotgun with a gear score of 263. It has 291% stagger, and the talents it has is competent, adept, and vicious. Also here we got a classic M60 with a gear score of 283. It has 22% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is sustained, destructive, and unforgiving. Also here we got a heavy magazine spring with 5% reload speed, 3% crit hit chance, and 9.50% rate of fire. Also here we got a loud vent break with 17% crit hit damage, 4.50% optimal range, and 2% accuracy. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the special equipment vendor here, and we got a Cassidy with a gear score of 262, and the talents it has is sustained, adept, and boomstick. Also here we got a black market AK-74 with a gear score of 274. It has 20% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is swift, competent, and fierce. Also here we got an M870 Express with a gear score of 267. It has 312.50% stagger, and the talents it has is responsive, ferocious, and destructive. Also here we got an M700 Carbon with a gear score of 280. It has 148% headshot damage, and the talents it has is determined, fierce, and elevated. Also here we got a classic M60 with a gear score of 270. It has 21% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is vicious, competent, and predatory. Also here we got an operator mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 267. The armor is 864. Its roll for electronics 1263. And the attributes it has is health on kill and burn resistance. Also here we got a tactical vest with the talent reckless on there. It has a gear score of 275. The armor is 1875. Its roll for firearms 1226. And the attributes it has is enemy armor damage, health, and ammo capacity. For our next gear items, we're still at the base of operations. Head over to the special blueprints vendor, and here we got some firearm gloves blueprint with a gear score of 256. We also got a high velocity magazine blueprint with a power level 34. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to Camp Clinton. Here the special equipment vendor has a historian with a gear score of 266. It has 162% headshot damage, and the talents it has is proficient, fierce, and historian repeats. Also here we got a Cassidy with a gear score of 281. It has 321.50% stagger, and the talents it has is swift, destructive, and boomstick. Also here we got a Liberator with a gear score of 269. It has 19% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is competent, deadly, and destructive. Also here we got a tactical vest with the talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 268. The armor is 1760. Its roll for stamina 1173. And the attributes it has is all resistance, exotic damage resilience, and ammo capacity. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 2% pulse crit hit chance. Also here we got an extended magazine with 121% magazine size, 4% crit damage, and 4.50% reload speed. Also here we got a small grip with 19% crit hit damage, 4.50% reload speed, and 2.50% stability. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations. Head over to the special blueprints vendor, and here we got a firearms mask blueprint with a gear score of 256. We also got an electronics glove blueprint with a gear score of 256, and we also got a flash hider blueprint with a power level 34. And also here we got a quick release magazine with a power level 34. For our next gear items, we're gonna head over to Dante's Run. Here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent Inventive on there. It has a gear score of 265, armors 1,202. Its roll for firearms 1,171, and attributes it has is skill power and burn resistance. And also we got a prototype performance mod with 3.50% mobile cover damage resilience. For our next gear items, you want to head over to Wolf's Den. Here the weapons vendor has a custom M870 MCS with a gear score of 268. It has 345% stagger. The talents it has is competent, brutal, and vicious. For our next gear items, you want to head over to Madison Stand. Here the gear vendor has an operator pack with the talent Relentless on there. It has a gear score of 266. The armor is 1,213. Its roll for firearms 1,114. And attributes it has is skill power and burn resistance. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the Ward. Here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops mask with the talent Enduring on there. It has a gear score of 275. Armor is 966. Its roll for stamina 1,136, and attributes it has is crit chance and increased kill XP. Also here we got a prototype stamina mod with 208 stamina and 3% damage to elites. And also here we got a prototype stamina mod with 253 stamina and 1% crit chance. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the Southpaw. Here the gear vendor has some operator gloves with the talent Savage on there. They have a gear score of 271. The armor is 964. Its roll for firearms 1,123. And attributes it has is LMG damage, crit chance, and enemy armor damage. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 6.50% ballistic shield health. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops armor with the talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 276. Armor is 1,927. Its roll for electronics 1,222. And attributes it has is health on kill, exotic damage resilience, and increased kill XP. Also here we got a prototype stamina mod with 253 stamina and 3,000 skill power. Also here we got a heavy magazine spring with 4% crit hit damage, 2.50% crit hit chance, and 10% rate of fire. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 34th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical Vector 45 ACP with a gear score of 273. It has 21% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is accurate, unforgiving, and fierce. Also here we got a 5.52 hollow sight with 7.50% crit hit chance, 2.50% stability, and 5% optimal range. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 39th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 5% first aid self-heal. And also here we got a VX1 scope times 12 with 17% headshot damage, 2.50% crit hit chance, and 2% accuracy. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 262 firearms and 3,199 skill power. For our next gear items, you're going to head over to West 46th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent Inventive on there. It has a gear score of 266. Armor is 1,161. Its roll for electronics 1,212. And attributes this has is health and disrupt resistance. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 7.50% Seeker Mine explosion radius. For our next gear items, you're going to head over to West 53rd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a classic RPK 74 with a gear score of 272. It has 22% damage to targets out of cover, and the talents it has is brutal, ferocious, and deadly. Also here we got an operator mask with the talent refreshed on there. It has a gear score of 275. The armor is 967. Its roll for electronics 1,161. And attributes it has is all resistance and damage to elites. For our next gear items, you can head over to East 64th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 262 firearms and 1% crit hit chance. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 7.50% turret health. For our next gear items, you can head over to East 61st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has an Omega rifle suppressor with 18.50% headshot damage, 2.50% stability, and 2.50% crit hit chance. For our next gear items, you can head over to East 58th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has an operator mask with the talent Enduring on there. It has a gear score of 264. The armor is 929. Its roll for firearms 1,118. And attributes it has is enemy armor damage and burn resistance. Also here we got an operator vest with the talent Vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 264. The armor is 1,803. Its roll for stamina 1,133. And attributes this has is skill haste, enemy armor damage, and increased kill XP. And also here we got a tactical pack with the talent specialized on there. It has a gear score of 273. The armor is 1,322. Its roll for firearms 1,126. And the attributes this has is health and ammo capacity. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the Park Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone Weapons vendor has a tactical Vector 45 ACP with a gear score of 270. It has 19.50% crit hit chance. And the talents this has is competent, meticulous, and vicious. Also here we got a military AK-47M with a gear score of 268. It has 21% enemy armor damage. And the talents this has is unforgiving, deadly, and ferocious. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 42nd Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 3.50% seeker mine damage. And also here we got a heavy magazine spring with 11.50% magazine size, 2.50% crit chance, and 10.90% rate of fire. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 40th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has an operator pack with the talent inventive on there. It has a gear score of 268. The armor is 1,248. Its roll for electronics 1,125. And attributes this has is crit damage and bleed resistance. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 5% smart cover duration. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 34th Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has some gunslinger gloves with the talent savaged on there. They have a gear score of 268. Their armor is 865. Its roll for electronics 1,231. And the attributes this has is pistol damage, crit damage, and SMG damage. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 7% support station duration. For our next gear items, you want to head over to East 31st Street checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has some gunslinger gloves with the talent savaged on there. They have a gear score of 276. The armor is 962. Its roll for electronics 1,250. And the attributes this has is health on kill, crit damage, and shotgun damage. And also here we got a prototype performance mod with 3% smart cover damage resilience. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the 5th Ave checkpoint. Here the Dark Zone vendor has a black market M60E6 with a gear score of 269. It has 20% damage to targets out of cover. And the talents this has is talented, fierce, and brutal. Also here we got a prototype performance mod with 4.50% ballistic shield damage resilience. And then also here we got a small grip red with 18% crit damage, 5% optimal range, and 4% reload speed. For our next gear items, you want to head over to DZ2 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has an operator mask with the talent tenacious on there. It has a gear score of 267. The armor is 931. Its roll for stamina 1,144. And the attributes this has is exotic damage resilience and blind depth resistance. Also here we got an operator vest with the talent reckless on there. It has a gear score of 260. The armor is 1,745. Its roll for electronics 1,143. And the attributes this has is health on kill, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity. And also here we got some operator gloves with the talent savaged on there. They have a gear score of 268. The armor is 952. Its roll for electronics 1,115. And the attributes this has is enemy armor damage, LMG damage, and crit damage. For our next gear items, you want to head over to DZ3 safe room. Here the Dark Zone Weapons vendor has an ACR with a gear score of 268. It has 22% enemy armor damage. And the talents this has is destructive, unforgiving, and accurate. And also here we got a custom L86A2 with a gear score of 262. It has 20% damage to targets out of cover. And the talents this has is deadly, fierce, and capable. For our next gear items, you want to head over to DZ4 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype electronics mod with 265 electronics and 3,228 health. For our next gear items, you want to head over to DZ8 safe room. Here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a tactical mask with the talent enduring on there. It has a gear score of 274. The armor is 1,001. Its roll for firearms 1,214. And the attributes this has is health on kill and blind depth resistance. Also here we got a tactical vest with the talent vigorous on there. It has a gear score of 274. The armor is 1,817. Its roll for stamina 1,266. And the attributes this has is health on kill, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity. Alright everybody, that's it for our Tom Clancy's The Division vendor reset video for October 30th, 2020's vendor reset. I hope everybody who tuned into it found them something that they needed. Smash on that sub and like button, y'all. I appreciate that support. Check me out on Twitch. I stream on there sometimes. And you can check me out on Instagram and Twitter. I'll be on there too. And I'll see y'all with the next one, everybody. Take care. Peace.